Hello, YouTube. Yesterday was kind of an eventful day for me in Elite Dangerous. I'm trying to get my elite ranking in exploration via passenger missions done as they're going to rebalance, aka nerf, how passengers affect your rank in 2.3. I'm going to be out of town next week, so I wanted to kind of get this done, and so was able to pick up a couple of nice paying passenger missions, one for 14, one for 7, I think another one for 4. That was enough to get me up to elite in exploration, which is, if it wasn't for passenger missions, I probably wouldn't get elite in exploration for several more years, as it's not my favorite activity in the game. But thanks to passenger missions, was able to accomplish that. So now all that's left in the triple elite status is combat, which is something I've been preferred to do anyway. And lo and behold, there's a new community goal up today that includes bounty hunting. So I'm there. And now, as it stands, pretty much expect, unless I'm traveling from point A to point B, I'm probably going to be combat equipped in my cutter and PvP equipped. So I was here, and this player had been kind of role playing being an Imperial and killing Federation people, and in this community goal was like, oh, you're helping the Federation, therefore you must cease or high wake out. And it's him and a Clipper and a friend of his and a cutter. And he was wanted at this point, and I'd seen him around in the system. You want to role play and stuff like that, that's fine. I don't really have anything against it. But again, this goes back to the I don't necessarily go looking for fights most of the time. It's kind of funny. In the Orion voice pack for the HSE voice pack with William Shatner, there's a line he says along the lines of, I think if you say, I think we're in trouble, he says a response to something, well, I don't go looking for trouble, but somehow it always seems to find me. Well, that's pretty much my feeling on things. And then he sends me this ultimatum to essentially, high wake out or else, and please respond. And I'm like, well, you may want to be careful what you wish for. So I sent him my reply, as my old buddy from Battlestar Galactica Online, Black Dog, taught me. Don't say it with text, say it with bullets, or in this case, plasma accelerators, railguns, and pulse lasers. So in a 2v1 type situation, you always want to engage the biggest threat, and his friend in the cutter is open fired, become wanted, therefore he is the biggest threat now to my ship. Don't know how he was engineered or anything like that. That's always the big unknown that you go into these fights with. And he's going to try the common cutter tactic of ramming. I run heavy, meaning I've got hull reinforcement, heavy armor on, and as a result, when a lot of lighter cutters, and I think he was running a lighter cutter for speed, that if you're going to be chasing down ships and stuff like that is usually what you want, it's the trade-offs. He just bounces off and takes more damage because I'm more massive. Then he makes a mental mistake here, and I think goes after my ship-launched fighter, and presents me with the ideal kill slot position. That T formation, that perpendicular 90 degrees to their top or bottom. In this case, their top. And I've talked about this in other videos before, but that is the equivalent in Elite Dangerous to the you want to be slightly above and to 15 degrees to the rear of a MiG-15 and F-86 for the ideal kill position that most of your gun trail of bullets have of impacting against the hull of the MiG. That was the ideal kill slot in the Korean War, and that is the Elite Dangerous equivalent of it. So he boosts and does the FA off turn to come back in. This is standard tactics for flying a cutter, and that's what exactly you're supposed to do. I'm able to get some beach balls in on him, let my turrets continue to do their work here, and he's going to try the ramming thing again. And I think after the second time, he's sort of figured out that it's not working. Now, he does shield cell banks. I hit him with rail guns to lessen their effect, and as a result, he's in a pretty bad state at this point in the fight. His shields are down very, very low, and in danger of losing him. Also notice that his hull is, I think, at 94, 93%. I'm able to hit him again with some beach balls, but he's going to come in and try to dodge the ram here, and I'm going to be able to nudge in just enough to clip him with my nacelle, and that's all she wrote, essentially. His shields are down. He's sustained significant hull damage at 75%. He's executing the patented Scott Manley GTFO maneuver. And this is something that is important. One of the Dicta Bulka's rules of engagement is never let yourself be deceived by ruses. This is why in World War I and World War II, a lot of pilots were trained to follow an enemy aircraft down until they crashed into the ground or exploded into bits. Make sure that they are out of the fight, because the last thing you want to do is break off an attack to then go engage somebody else, and the enemy pilot was just feigning that their ship or aircraft was crippled, and then recover, turn right around, they're on your 6, and they shoot you down, because they were able to just basically fool you into thinking they were far more damaged than they were. So I'm going to follow him and make sure that he high wakes, low wakes, whatever wakes out of the system. And once he's done that, then I'm going to turn around and engage this Clipper. Now I am going to go into time acceleration here, because the battle against the Clipper is just simply a war of attrition at this point. At this point, the battle is over, but if you notice, my shields are pretty well down because I had to remove pips in order to go to engines to try to make sure, in order to ensure that his friend left the battle. But I pop a couple of shield cell banks here and a couple of heat sinks so that I don't get extra tasty crispy, and stay in there. So I think he was a little bit deceived, kind of by a ruse there, that I was far closer to losing my shields than I actually was. And at this point, he's trying the jousting thing. If he jousts, he gets a face full of plasma accelerator and railguns. So that's not working out too well for him. He's a smart enough pilot that he then decides to try the whole let's do the circle strafe, or as I like to say, let's do the circle jerk thing. Well, I've got turreted pulse lasers that will deal with that situation. Is his shields up? I got phasing sequence. Therefore, damage is going to bleed through to his hull no matter what. It's just a matter of time, and I have time. More time than his ship does in this situation. Then I also have Scrambled Spectrum, so if his shields do go down, he's going to lose one system every 10 seconds for a reboot, whether it be thrusters, a weapon, the cargo hatch, which really doesn't do much for anyone in this scenario. But at any rate, I'm fighting my fight. I am in my element. I am designed to deliver sustained damage over time, and then be able to stand toe-to-toe with just about anyone else out there in a 1v1 and manage most 2v1 situations. Now, if he had been in an FDL versus a Clipper here, the odds may at that point tipped into their favor, and I probably would have executed the patented Scott Manley GTFO maneuver. But in this situation, I know that it is my fight certainly to lose. It's just a matter of how long does he want to sit here and essentially take it. And eventually here, he ends up making a piloting mistake. He's going FA off, arrests his momentum enough, and I'm able to give him a gentle nuzzle with the nose of my ship and take about half his remaining hull points off his hull. Hit points off the hull, or percentage of hull, whatever you want to call it. So it doesn't end up too well for him. Again, you can kind of see there it had disabled his thrusters, waiting for the cooldown to take effect. He starts running. And as soon as he does this, I know his friend's coming back. He's out of range. I'm out of heat sinks. I'm like, my shields aren't totally there, so now's the time to pop a shield cell bank while he's out of range. I'm going to get extra tasty crispy here, but that seemed to be the ideal moment. This is enough to cause me to get internal damage to thrusters, to weapons, and things like that, and now my combat capabilities are actually reduced somewhat. But he's recovered shields as well. He was probably thinking the same thing, and my hunch turns out to be absolutely right. Here comes his friend back. Now, he's in 10% hull. I'm like, if I can put a few more shots, maybe get him below 10% hull, he'll disengage. He'll be absolutely forced at that point to disengage. But instead, he's going to pull the run out of your gun range maneuver. He's faster. He's not the greatest threat on the battlefield at the moment, so I'm going to leave him be and then re-engage his buddy in the cutter. And I had been thinking he had gone to another system, been able to land, repair, rearm, refuel, shave, and come back to the combat area. But instead, he just recovers his shields and is back for round 2 at 70% hull. And I know that his shields are nowhere near what mine are. Established this from earlier on the fight. I also know, however, if I'm forced to use any more shield cell banks, it's going to get quite warm in the cockpit there. And possibly damage systems to the point where I'm going to be in a world of problems. So I'm going to be watching my shields like a hawk here, but going to go ahead and re-engage because I'm confident that at where my shields are right now, that they'll be able to sustain me throughout the remainder of this fight. So he tries the ramming tactic again because that worked out so well for him the other 3 times. Again, I don't know if this is poor piloting skills now into effect or if, again, he's just trying the ramming tactic because that's what he knows to do. But it ain't working this time around. I would think after the first couple of times you go, maybe I shouldn't do that. He's once again doing the strafing from the sustained internal damage from cooking myself. I'm starting to get pulse laser malfunctions quite frequently. But I'm going to stay in the fight as long as I can here. He's coming at me again. Face full of plasma accelerator, and boom. He rams into me and takes another 25% off his hull thereabouts. I think he's at about 48% at this point in time. I don't know. I'm looking at the small screen in my video editing program, so numbers aren't all that visible or clear. So I think that's about 40 some odd percent going down. And this is where him and his buddy decide that the better part of Valor is executing the Scott Manley GTFO maneuver. So yeah, I think that my cutter is adequately equipped for dealing with these type of fights. And again, this ended up being my fight. They fell into the trap of you're facing somebody and fighting the exact fight that they want to fight. So thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all of those fun things that YouTube sometimes does and does not allow you to do. Until next time, see you later.